What's up, happy fabricators? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to solve some small shop storage solutions. So if you watched a couple videos back, you've seen that we added this X-Tool P2 to our arsenal in the shop. But the biggest hurdle for it, for me at least, is it takes up a lot of space and one of my welding tables. And I've just been racking my brain on how to best efficiently store this thing, to the point that I even thought about getting rid of it because space is so important in my shop and there's not that much of it. But then one day when I was sitting there doom scrolling Pinterest, I seen this cool little thing. But there was at least one problem with this design. This laser cutter weighs over 100 pounds. How am I gonna push that up into the ceiling and hold it while you latch it and all that good stuff? So thinking that I'd used all my talent up, I decided I'd go do some honeydews and put some stuff away in the attic. And then I seen this thing and put it all together. So I went straight to work trying to get my design out of my head and onto something that I could see. And with a complete whiteboard 3D model, all there's left to do is build it. Okay, so now that I've done some funking on how and where I wanted to build this thing, I want to show you what we're gonna do here. I've got this space up in my, we'll call it attic, that is empty. It's empty space in the shop. So we're gonna fill it with this laser cutter. We're just gonna have to figure out what our geometry is gonna have to be to fit it as far over here as possible. Because what I'd like to do is have the thing swing down to this side over the shop, so it's kind of hovering above my water jet table, and I can still open the doors if I'm using it. So let's take some measurements. Okay, so after taking some measurements and figuring some stuff out, I've got some ideas in my head, so let me explain. I'm gonna have my top bracket and my bottom bracket that my laser cutter is gonna sit on, and this one is gonna swing up and fold up with two parallel bars. So when it's down, it's gonna look like this, and when it's up, it's gonna look something like this. So I have to figure out the geometry that these guys are going to stay parallel, and in turn, keep the base that the laser cutter is sitting on parallel as well. So just to confirm my brain is working the right way, I think I'm gonna scale this thing down in a drawing just super simply, and we're gonna cut a small scale model out on the laser cutter and see if it works the way that I think it is gonna. So after cutting this thing out in some quick assembly, this is what we're left with, and I think it's gonna work. So the key here, what I'm finding out, is that both of our bars need to be the same length, which was my theory, but the critical part is the hole placement on the pad that our cutter is gonna sit on and the upper mounts. So in order for this thing to fold up and sit parallel up in the attic, the important thing is that when I do the layout on these holes, this front hole on both of them needs to be a certain amount above the back hole so that these can sit parallel. And if that wasn't clear as mud, don't worry, I'll show it in more detail as we build it out. Okay, so now that we have the base all welded together and the major components built, I just want to kind of show you and explain a little more about what my little movie model was all about. This is kind of the state of it when it's folded up in the ceiling or up in the trusses, and then it'll kind of do the inverse of this. So that upper piece will be mounted to the truss, and this piece will swing up. But what I kind of found was the formula for this, in the event that this is something you would want to do, is basically you have to figure out your total length of your space. You have to subtract it by the depth of your shelf, and that's going to give you the distance of how far off the ground or how far off the truss it's going to be. And then how you determine the distance between this tube and this tube is just the diameter of the tube you want to use, or wood if you want to do this out of wood, plus the clearance that you want. So I'm using 1x1s here, so I needed 1 inch of difference for these to clear when they're sitting flat, and then I wanted a 1/4 inch of clearance in between them. So when they're sitting perfectly parallel, there should be a 1/4 inch gap in between them. So therefore on the back side, my pivot point needs to be 1.25 inches lower than the pivot point on the front side. So as you can see here, I've just got a little tube that bumps that guy up. So after some fiddling, we've got a thing that moves. Now I just got to math a little bit and figure out where our gas shocks are going to go to help assist this thing up. So I've seen somebody on Instagram use one of these concrete grinding cups the other day to remove some heavy dross. So I'm going to see what it'll do. Do some experimenting. Wow, that worked really well, but it really throws it. So make sure you're not pointing towards anything that you don't want dross thrown at. Okay, I'm back. It's a couple days later and just kind of want to show you what it'll do. I've got 30 pounds of weight on here and it will go all the way up by itself. It's a little slow up to the end there, but I'm not counting on it lifting all of the weight by itself. I just want a very good assist. Now I just had another kind of cool idea, at least I think it's a cool idea. Let me know in the comments if you think it is. I just got this new Evolution chop saw, but it is wider than my other chop saw, so I can't stick it down underneath the other welding table. And I just had a thought to do something like this, but swing down this direction, because I usually use it up against this wall anyways. And I have the next base slot here in the headers, and I could make the saw swing down and make a latch up against the wall, so it latches solid up against the wall. And as long as my front parallel bars are in line or just behind the fence, which I think is still possible, I could leave the saw bolted down to it, and then I can do any of my cutting. I could set up my in-feed and out-feed stands that I have, and when I'm done with the saw, I could put it right back up in the ceiling. Like, just as simple as this. So, let me know what you think about that. Okay, so unfortunately everything didn't go as planned, and this doesn't quite move it as easy as I thought it would. I mean, we're good to right in here, but as soon as we get to this spot where you don't have as much mechanical advantage, it's still a lot to lift it. I bet I'm lifting probably close to 50 pounds, maybe a little more. And I looked it up, I thought this thing weighed like 70, 80 pounds, and it actually weighs 100 pounds. So my math was a little off because I didn't have the right information, which that was my fault. But in any case, we're gonna have to make this stronger because I want my wife to be able to pull this thing down safely and use it. So I'm gonna have to adapt. Let's figure something out. Okay, so it's a couple days since I've been out in the shop, and I'm gonna bring you up to speed to where we're at. We had a couple debacles here, and as you can see, we've actually got 2 sets of shocks, one there and one there. We ended up doubling them up, and I took my 150s and my figure out which way I'm pointing here. We took my 150s and the 200-pound shocks, and we stuck one shock on each leg of the 4-bar link. This is where we're currently at. I'll show you. So right now, you're pushing probably about 30 pounds, and I can set it down, and it will hold itself at about the halfway mark, and then I can still pull it down. It'll over-center itself, and then like this. It'll lift itself to about the halfway point, and then I've got 25 to 30 pound push. So now we just got to build a latch for it. Okay, so we got our latch installed and it works. Now, all I gotta do, it's in the down position here, over centered. I can give it a push, it'll lift itself up to there. I have to have a step ladder because I'm short still, but I can push it up to the top, grab the toggle clamp, flip it over, and we're there. Now, as you can see, it's tucked up nice and flush. The handle doesn't stick down too far there. So what I ended up doing with the toggle clamp here for the latch, just as a safety and redundance, so this thing can't get blocked, the end of it is threaded, so I stuck a washer and a nut on there, and so now the washer catches the edge of this, so you can't knock it open accidentally. So if I hit it with something coming in the door, I'm not going to be able to open it. I just have to put a little bit of pressure up on it, and then I can put it down and slide it down. So now if I want to get it down, I got to get my step ladder, come up, put a little pressure on it, unlatch the toggle clamp, let it down, push it over center, and we're ready to roll. Now I'm going to have my wiring dressed down one of the legs along with the exhaust system for this so that everything will be ready to go. I literally just got to flip the switch on the side and I can start cutting stuff. But we'll save that for a different video because I think I'm gonna make a DIY fume extractor and we will kind of merge those together and make them a 2-in-1 kind of thing. But I'm super excited to get this thing off of one of my main work tables and create some more space in the shop. It's super fun to just play with and kind of appealing to look at too. I don't know why, but I like mechanical things and I enjoy seeing moving mechanical things in my workspace. So I really appreciate you guys sticking around this far in the video. If you want to see more creative storage solutions, let me know what those might be down in the comments and we'll see if we can make them happen. So once again, if you guys want to see more fabrication content, click some of the links that are going to pop up here. If you want to get notified of upcoming videos, hit that subscribe button. Bleh. If you guys want to get notified of upcoming videos, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. It's free to do so. And go build something. See you on the next one.